All right, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're plugging straight into the neon-lit matrix of Rosi Braidotti's academic cartography to uncover the real-world post-human resistance against cognitive capitalism. Seriously, if you've ever felt like modern society is slowly but surely turning into a full-blown cyberpunk dystopia, where megacorporations harvest our data and the line between biology and technology completely blurs, well, you definitely aren't alone. Today, we're going to explore how one visionary thinker maps out the exact parameters of this high-tech, bioengineered reality. And, much more importantly, we'll look at how we can actually hack the system to fight back.
Okay, let's quickly boot up our data log for today's journey. We'll be running through 5 main sectors. First, the end of man. Second, the rise of cognitive capitalism. Third, the post-human resistance. Fourth, the critical post-humanities. And finally, number 5, composing the missing peoples. Let's jump in.
Now, you might think we're just spinning a wild sci-fi narrative here, but this futuristic concept actually originates from a very real, very grounded academic text. Published in the journal Theory, Culture, and Society, Professor Rosi Braidotti's paper, A Theoretical Framework for the Critical Posthumanities, gives this whole explainer some immediate, heavy-hitting intellectual weight. It's absolutely not science fiction. It's a razor-sharp analysis of our current historical moment, a moment she calls the post-human predicament, where rapid, mind-bending technological advances are colliding head-on with extreme economic inequalities.
So let's log into our first sector, the end of man. For centuries, literally the entire world has been structured around a very specific and honestly pretty privileged concept of the human being. But that old operating system, it's crashing. Braidotti notes that the traditional universal measure of man has been commodified into just another corporate brand, a fading, vanishing X-man. The classical Eurocentric idea of the human, which, let's be real, was often implicitly defined as male, white, and property-owning, is just no longer the center of the universe. In our highly mediated, genetically modified present, that old version of humanity has become a totally obsolete construct.
So, what takes its place? Well, we have to recognize what Braidotti calls Zoe. Zoe is the vital, immensely productive energy of non-human life that is actively replacing our outdated human-centric worldview. Think of Zoe as the underlying open-source code of the entire planet. It's this vibrant matter that flows through animals, plants, viruses, and even the self-organizing technological networks. We are no longer uniquely stationed above nature. We are deeply entangled within this massive, buzzing network of Zoe.
And this creates a huge, stark contrast. On one hand, you have traditional human bios. Bios was basically like a VIP user account, exclusive rights granted only to the proper humans. On the other hand, you have Zoe, which is the raw, expansive, unrestricted data stream of life itself. Braidotti argues that to truly understand our reality today, we absolutely have to look past the VIP section of BIOS and embrace the wild, vulnerable, yet incredibly vital reality of Zoe.
Which brings us to Sector 2, the rise of cognitive capitalism.
Hovering over this whole new biological reality is a massive, highly opportunistic megacorporate threat. Right as we start to realize we're deeply connected to all living things, a new economic system figures out exactly how to monetize that connection. Cognitive capitalism is this advanced, aggressively profit-driven system that Braidotti argues neutrally exploits not just our labor, but the biogenetic data of all living things. I mean, this is pure cyberpunk. The system doesn't just want you to buy products anymore, it wants the informational power of living matter itself. It literally views the genetic code of a rainforest plant, the behavioral data of a social media user, and the algorithmic patterns of a smart city as completely equal streams of surplus capital.
This system basically operates like a totally malicious algorithm, working through 3 relentless steps to extract value from our planet's ecology. First, it data mines vast populations to predict and control behavior. Second, it engages in outright biopiracy, patenting the very seeds and plants that indigenous communities have relied on for millennia. And third, it exploits life itself, literally turning the vital, open-source energy of Zoe into private financial profit.
And Braidotti doesn't mince words here at all. She argues that cognitive capitalism is a highly destructive, entropic machine that literally devours our collective future just to feed its own insatiable growth. By commodifying absolutely everything that lives, it saturates our present and, in her view, aggressively blocks our collective ability to even imagine a sustainable future. It's a system literally designed to consume tomorrow just to generate profit today.
But there's hope. Let's navigate to Sector 3,
the post-human resistance.
Because, hey, wherever there is systemic control, there is always a hacker underground finding a way to rewrite the rules, right? On the fringes of this mega-corporate dystopia, a network of nomadic subjects is rising up. Braidotti draws a really fascinating juxtaposition between protocol-bound corporate royal science and the underground intersectional minor science. Royal science is the well-funded, static, institutional machine that serves cognitive capitalism. But minor science? That's our resistance. It operates entirely on the margins. It's underfunded but highly adaptable, crossing disciplinary borders and completely rejecting the status quo to create totally new, transformative concepts.
And behind all this dense theory is a real, actual person orchestrating this academic resistance. Braidotti herself acts as a key node in this network. She uses her position within the university system to broadcast a signal to other thinkers, activists, and creators, urging them to form fluid alliances that royal science simply cannot easily predict or control.
What this means is that our sense of self is no longer just this solitary, isolated human experience. Actually, scratch that. It never really was. It is a sprawling, cooperative effort across biological and digital divides. The resistance starts by changing how we fundamentally see ourselves. We are not isolated individuals fighting a massive machine. We are embodied, embedded entities intertwined with technology, ecology, and each other. We are a cooperative trans-species assemblage.
Okay, moving on to Sector 4, the critical posthumanities.
To really map out this new trans-species reality, we have to explore the academic underground. This is where the minor sciences are setting up their bases of operation, forming what Braidotti calls the critical posthumanities. We are seeing a massive, explosive, root-like growth of these minotarian studies linking digital codes with marginalized ecologies. Just look at the fields emerging. We're seeing a profound shift away from traditional, siloed academic disciplines. Instead, we have these dynamic, crossover fields. You have thinkers in the digital humanities analyzing algorithmic bias, while researchers in critical plant studies and extinction studies are completely redefining what it means to be a conscious actor on a damaged planet.
But we have to be careful here. Braidotti warns us there are two very distinct ways these new digital and environmental humanities are being rapidly co-opted straight back into the neoliberal corporate fold. The megacorps of cognitive capitalism are incredibly fast. They see these new fields and immediately try to absorb them. One way is by turning them into quantitative, data-driven profit centers for the tech industry. The other is through programs like the Oxford Institute for the Future of Humanity, which promotes transhumanism. Transhumanism is basically a corporate, well-funded push to create a super-intelligent, enhanced human, which, let's be honest, completely misses the point of connecting with non-human life in the first place.
So that brings us to the ultimate hacker's dilemma. If cognitive capitalism is literally overcoding and capitalizing on all living matter, how on earth do we fight back? If every plant, animal, and digital interaction is being data mined for profit, how do we create an outside to a system that claims to have no outside? Well, the answer isn't to retreat. The answer is to outmaneuver the system through radical, unexpected connection.
And that solution lies in our final area, Sector 5. Composing the missing peoples. To actually fight back, we need to build an underground alliance right in the ruins of the capitalist scene, formulating a completely different ethic to guide our resistance. Enter affirmative ethics. This acts as our firewall against dystopian despair. It's an approach that transforms marginalization into collective empowerment. Affirmative ethics means flat-out refusing to be paralyzed by the apocalyptic doom-scrolling of our era. Instead, it's about taking the very real pain of structural exclusion and using it as the raw fuel to generate new, joyful, and productive alliances. It's an ethics of radical affirmation.
And this is the actual network Braidotti calls us to align with, the missing peoples who have historically just been completely left off the map. She's calling for an unprecedented coalition here. This isn't just a political party. It's a full-blown trans-species alliance. It connects decolonial thinkers and indigenous knowledge systems with new media hackers, environmental activists, and the very land, water, and technological frameworks we inhabit. These are the populations that the old exclusive idea of man actively ignored.
This really sets up a clear battleground map. You've got the panic-driven corporate Anthropocene on one side and the creative alliances of the post-human resistance on the other. Look at the contrast. Cognitive capitalism thrives on pan-human anxiety, accelerating profit at absolutely all costs, and maintaining strict institutional control. But our posthuman alliance, it fights back by intentionally de-accelerating, focusing on the shared vitality of Zoe and building genuine collaborations across species and technologies. It is a completely different paradigm of power.
All of this brings us to a really powerful call to arms by the philosophers Deleuze and Guattari, reminding us that humanity is basically just a bridge. As they put it, the human is just a vector of becoming. We are not the final perfect product of evolution, nor are we the masters of the matrix. We are just a passing phase. Our true task right now isn't to desperately try and save the outdated concept of human superiority, but to actively participate in composing a new people and a new Earth entirely.
As we close out this explainer, I want to leave you with one final crucial question. Who are the missing peoples, the marginalized nodes, in your own network, and how will you actualize their potential? Braidotti's cartography shows us, for sure, that the future doesn't belong to the megacorporations or the obsolete ghosts of human exceptionalism. It belongs to the nomadic, the deeply connected, and the affirmative. So look at the systems around you, find the missing peoples, and let's start composing the resistance.